TransPerfect Media's massive shift into visual effects localization, Ghana's strict mining localization mandate for December 2026, and RWS Trados launching revolutionary concurrent editing. If you're trying to keep up with the latest industry shifts, you already know things move fast. Welcome to Locaniku.com. Imagine a multi-million-dollar international merger collapsing right at the 11th hour. The contracts are drawn up, everything looks perfect, but it all just falls apart. Why? Because an AI perfectly translated the grammar of a critical legal clause, but it completely hallucinated the cultural legal nuance behind it. That isn't some hypothetical dystopian scenario. That exact kind of invisible failure is happening right now across global business. We are living through a great AI reckoning in global communication. The narrative has finally moved past that initial, naive tech utopian dream of AI simply replacing human translators. Instead, we are looking at the incredibly complex reality of orchestrating human-AI collaboration. This technology is expanding rapidly into live visual media, and frankly, we have to address the profound human toll of these massive structural shifts. Whether you are prepping for a global business meeting, you're a manager trying to figure out how enterprise AI integration actually works in practice, or you're just insanely curious about the invisible infrastructure that makes global content possible, this is going to reveal what is actually happening behind the curtain. And it is a very busy curtain right now. Let's unpack the technology itself, because we really have to dismantle the lingering assumption that AI just solved translation. If you look at the landscape today, we aren't dealing with a single magical AI brain. An industry framework released by RWS categorizes the 2026 AI landscape into three very distinct tiers. You have Foundation Neural Machine Translation, or MT. You have domain-tuned engines, and you have adaptive LLM agents. They serve completely different masters. Foundation NMT is your workhorse. It's built for high-volume, highly structured stability, like translating millions of words of basic user reviews. But you might wonder, if I have a massive state-of-the-art large language model, why do I need an older style NMT engine at all? Doesn't the LLM just do it better? Well, because LLMs are expensive. They are comparatively slow, and crucially, they are prone to creativity when you really don't want it. If you are translating an airplane maintenance manual, you don't want the AI to get creative. You want absolute, rigid consistency. Creativity and airplane maintenance sound terrifying. That's exactly where domain-tuned engines come in. They are specifically trained on narrow, regulated datasets like life sciences or aerospace. You only unleash the adaptive LLM agents on creative, tonally sensitive content, like a dynamic marketing campaign where you actually need the AI to capture a specific brand voice. It's like you don't use a sports car to haul a load of gravel. Companies are building massive infrastructure just to manage these different options dynamically. Platforms like machinetranslation.com are constantly adding new open-weight models. They just added Aya Expanse 32B today. Users can instantly compare how different engines handle the exact same text, reducing reliance on a single vendor. But to really grasp why we need to dynamically route text between all these different engines, we have to talk about Manuel Herranz's concept of jagged intelligence. This is one of the most accurate frameworks for understanding modern AI. We tend to think of intelligence as a straight line. If a system is smart enough to do X, it must be smart enough to do Y. But Herranz points out that AI capability is actually a jagged topography of extreme peaks and deep valleys. An AI can write a flawless piece of Python code, an absolute peak of capability, but then completely stumble on a basic, nuanced piece of legal phrasing in a second language. It might even forget which language it's supposed to be translating into halfway through a prompt. Because of this jagged landscape, the real competitive edge in the industry is no longer about who has the single smartest AI model. It is entirely about the orchestration layer. It's about being the executive chef in the kitchen. Companies like Blackbird.io are connecting over 200 different tools and engines to manage how content is transformed. Value has shifted from raw capability to governed execution. Now, on one hand, we have all these incredible orchestrated engines routing everything perfectly. But on the other hand, there is a massive trust deficit. A Business Wire survey just reported that 94% of enterprises still do not trust AI to get cultural nuances right. 94%. If the tech is so advanced, why are they failing the culture test? Because orchestration doesn't inherently fix a lack of context, and that trust deficit is incredibly expensive. That same survey reveals that more than 21% of localization budgets are currently being burned by the rework tax. That's the cost of fixing culturally inaccurate AI translations that end up causing brand damage. Patricia Gomez Jurado refers to this as content debt. You have massive companies scaling globally, pushing content into 10 or 15 languages using AI, but they haven't built out their multilingual ontologies. For those outside of data science, an ontology is essentially the deep structural map of a company's knowledge. It's not just a glossary of terms, it defines relationships. It tells the AI, hey, when we use the word drive in this specific product line, we mean a hard drive, not driving a car. And here is how that concept relates to our cloud storage features. Without that explicit mapped out guidance on context and cultural nuance, an LLM is purely probabilistic. Wait, purely probabilistic? We're talking about models that can pass the bar exam. How can they just be guessing? Because passing the bar exam is essentially an exercise in pattern recognition within a very specific, heavily documented set of English legal rules. But when an AI encounters a colloquial phrase in Brazilian Portuguese that implies a subtle tone of urgency, it doesn't actually understand the urgency. It just predicts the next most likely token based on its training data. It is highly educated guessing. And that leads directly into what Gabriela Hernandez and Yuri Sorochkin call the smoothness trap. This is such a critical concept. Historically, if you were a human editor doing language quality assurance, or LQA, you were trained to spot bad translations by looking for obvious errors, clunky phrasing, weird grammar, unnatural sentence structures. If it read poorly, you knew it was flawed. But modern AI generates text that is incredibly fluent. The grammar is immaculate. It sounds authoritative and beautiful. So a human editor doing machine translation post-editing, MTPE, reads it, associates that fluency with accuracy, and glides right past a fundamental error in meaning. It's exactly like an AI-generated deepfake photo of a person. At first glance, the lighting is perfect. The textures are hyper-realistic. It looks totally convincing. But then you look closely at the hand, and the person has 6 fingers. The grammar is the lighting. It's flawless. But the 6 fingers represent the core meaning. It is structurally, undeniably wrong. The stakes for those structural failures are massive. Lucas Foy posted a great breakdown today about the difference between sworn and certified translations. When documents cross borders, say for immigration or a corporate merger, they aren't just language services. They are individual links in an international administrative chain. One misunderstood legal term, one 6-finger deepfake of a sentence, and the entire administrative chain breaks down. Which is why human experts are no longer being viewed by smart companies as operational bottlenecks. They are essential strategic guardrails. Because of this, the actual day-to-day job of a human language professional is undergoing a radical mutation. It's like the workforce is transitioning from simply typing queries into a search bar to actually building the search engine algorithm itself. Vincent Liu frames this beautifully as the shift toward agent engineering. The era of basic prompt engineering, where you just type a clever query into a chatbot, is fading rapidly. If you are managing a global team right now, your hiring criteria just fundamentally changed. You aren't just looking for linguists who can write prompts. You are looking for system architects. Liu outlines 7 critical skills for this, and they are intensely technical. One of the biggest is retrieval engineering, specifically using RAG, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. How does connecting an AI to a knowledge base stop it from falling into the smoothness trap? Well, imagine you give a student an incredibly difficult test. If they rely only on their memory, which is jagged, they might hallucinate an answer that sounds confident, but is totally wrong. RAG changes the rules and makes it an open book test. Before the AI is allowed to translate a sentence, the system forces it to retrieve the specific, approved facts and terminology from the company's internal database, that ontology we talked about earlier. It anchors the translation to ground truth, preventing the AI from just guessing. Another essential skill is reliability engineering. This involves building circuit breakers for AI downtime. Think about a live global e-commerce environment. If an AI model starts hallucinating or an API goes down, you cannot have your global storefront start publishing garbage. The system needs an automatic switch, a circuit breaker, to immediately route that content to a human reviewer or a more stable backup model. Buyers aren't paying agencies for a per-word translation anymore. They are paying for governed execution and guaranteed outcomes. We are seeing the software platforms themselves completely rebuild around this reality. RWS just dropped a major feature update for their Trados platform today, and the big news is concurrent editing. It sounds basic, but for complex multilingual supply chains, it's revolutionary. Multiple users can finally work on the exact same tasks simultaneously without locking each other out. It's like Google Docs, but built for heavy industrial translation workflows, connecting seamlessly to a translation memory, the database that stores previously translated sentences for instant reuse. It's all about enabling these agile, transparent workflows for agent engineers. But here is where we really need to widen the lens. This incredibly complex orchestration, the RAG, the circuit breakers, concurrent editing, is no longer restricted to text documents on a screen. The logic of human AI orchestration is rapidly consuming visual, real-time, and high-end media. We are seeing the blurring of lines between a Hollywood VFX studio and a traditional localization agency. TransPerfect Media announced that their MPC Paris studio completed 541 visual effects shots for a feature film called Cold Storage. We are talking about 431 technicians working over 18 months. Traditionally, localization was an afterthought. The movie is finished, rendered, and then sent out to have subtitles slapped on it or dubbed audio added. But now, localization is baked directly into the Dolby Vision post-production workflow. Imagine a scene where a character walks past a digital billboard, and the billboard is crucial to the plot. Instead of blurring it out or subtitling it for international audiences, the VFX team actually goes into the 3D rendering pipeline and replaces the visual asset of the billboard with a fully localized version, matching the light, the camera blur, the reflections, all before the final render. The localization provider is moving entirely upstream into original image creation. It isn't just pre-recorded film. This multimodal expectation is hitting live broadcasting too. At the NABE 2026 show, Chiron just launched Prime Translate. It automates real-time, synchronized multi-language overlays for live sports. If you're watching a global broadcast, the graphics package, the lower thirds, the player stats, is being rendered and localized natively on the fly for different regions. This is the era of multimodal integration. It's not just text or audio, it is the entire visual and sensory experience. Look at the partnership announced today between LanguageLine Solutions and Vonage. They are rolling out a visual-first video interpreting solution. Because in high-stakes environments, say an emergency room or a critical legal deposition, translating the text of what someone says isn't enough. A doctor needs to see the patient's facial expressions. An attorney needs to see the nonverbal cues. That builds trust in a way pure text never can. And the fact that this involves Vonage, which is owned by Ericsson, shows us that massive telecom giants are becoming the foundational infrastructure for language access. This expectation of full parity is everywhere. Even in the indie game developer scene, a patch release for the local asset library explicitly stated that full multilingual user interface parity is now a baseline standard, not a premium luxury. So we have this explosive, highly technical expansion into VFX, live overlays, and 200-tool orchestration workflows. But amidst all of this, there is a very harsh, completely paradoxical reality for the human workforce powering it. How can the industry be desperate for talent while highly skilled professionals are simultaneously losing their livelihoods or becoming completely invisible? That paradox is the defining tension of the industry right now. We saw a deeply emotional essay today from Birgit Bonde Jensen. She described the quiet closure of a highly ethical small translation agency that she had worked with for years. It's a sobering read. The owner literally took out a personal mortgage just to ensure the translators got paid during the wind down. The core reason they shut down? a chain reaction of clients who firmly believe that because AI exists, translation should essentially be frictionless and free. She introduces this haunting concept of the AI Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail. We're heading toward this highly dangerous closed loop where AI writes the original content, AI pre-edits it, AI translates it, AI does the quality estimation to supposedly humanize it, and finally, an AI agent reads the content on behalf of the end user. It sounds absurd, but it's terrifyingly close to reality. And while veteran professionals are being squeezed out by this Ouroboros, massive companies are constantly complaining that they can't find the talent they need to build these orchestration systems. Why the disconnect? Diego Crescieri built a platform called Talent Spotlight specifically to address this, and Stefan Hui highlighted it today. The problem isn't a lack of talent. The problem is that the AI hiring algorithms are systematically filtering out perfectly qualified human candidates. Automated resume screeners are looking for trendy buzzwords like prompt engineer or AI orchestrator. But veteran language professionals who have decades of deep contextual linguistic experience and understand exactly how to manage complex workflows don't necessarily use that tech bro terminology on their LinkedIn profiles. So, the algorithm ranks them as unqualified, and they get filtered out before a human recruiter ever even sees their resume. They become invisible. Add to that the macroeconomic pressures highlighted in a new NIMSI Insights report today. We are looking at global tariffs, volatile exchange rates, and shifting geopolitics that are absolutely crushing margins. It's a cutthroat environment, which is why talent retention has gone from a nice-to-have HR initiative to a matter of operational survival. Today, Lionbridge received the 2025 Gold Level Healthy Workforce designation. It's easy to read that and think it's just corporate PR. But in an industry fundamentally built on human delivery, employee well-being is critical infrastructure. The burnout rate in AI editing right now is so severe that human retention is literally being classified as risk mitigation. If your human experts burn out trying to manage this grueling AI-heavy landscape, your entire quality guardrail collapses. If the middle of the market is hollowing out, basic translation is automated, and small agencies are getting crushed, how do professionals and companies actually survive this great reckoning? The answer is they have to move upstream. Language professionals are finally being hired as the architects to design the building, rather than just the painters called in at the very end to make it look nice. Bruno Herman shared a great framework for this. He calls it the shift from being a piece of the puzzle to becoming the puzzle. Becoming the puzzle means shifting your entire focus to global content operations. It means understanding how a piece of content is created, how it moves through a company, and where language impacts global performance long before a translation engine is ever fired up. You see this operational shift clearly in the agenda for the Information Energy 2026 conference. The massive trend there is localizable minimalism. It's the practice of technical writers and localization leads actively co-authoring content. They work together from day one to strip out cultural idioms and reduce content bloat. The mechanism is simple. If you write a perfectly clear, minimalist source text, the AI will not fall into the smoothness trap later on. You are fixing the translation before it's even written. That is true strategic integration. The multilingual magazine Influencers issue released today reflects this maturity perfectly. The definition of industry influence has entirely shifted away from pure technology evangelism. It's now focused on equity, cultural intelligence, and viewing translation as vital global infrastructure. And the real-world stakes for that infrastructure are literally life and death. Look at the geopolitical news out of Ghana today. The government just imposed a strict mining localization mandate taking effect in December 2026. Multinationals like Newmont Corp are being forced to transfer their operations to local contractors. That is classic resource nationalism. But look at what it drives: an immediate, massive need for highly specialized technical localization. You cannot transfer complex engineering operations, heavy machinery protocols, and safety standards without a massive surge of local language technical IP and training materials. If you get a marketing translation wrong, you lose a sale. If you get a mining safety manual wrong, a tunnel collapses. That is transferring operational capability and ensuring human safety. It is deeply strategic. You can see the industry dialogue maturing around this. Evgenia Egorova pointed out today that localization podcasts like SlaterPod and the Agile Localization Podcast are seeing a surge in engagement. Professionals are actively seeking out high-level strategy discussions because the operational mechanics are changing faster than any single person can track. As Jonas Ryberg pointed out, localization is shifting from a backroom operational cost center to a strategic, cool capability focused on global experience. Before we get into the final takeaways, just a reminder that you can find more practical insights like this at locanuku.com. So, if we pull all of this together, what have we really learned from the landscape today? We have moved incredibly far beyond the simplistic binary of human versus machine. We are firmly operating in the era of complex orchestration. We are managing jagged intelligence, and avoiding the smoothness trap requires a totally new breed of highly technical agent engineers. We've seen how the definition of localization has expanded from text files into massive VFX production pipelines and live real-time broadcasting. And we've confronted the very harsh paradox of a desperate talent shortage existing right alongside highly skilled humans being rendered invisible by hiring algorithms. The only path forward is to shift entirely upstream, becoming the architect of strategic global content operations. The next time you read a seamlessly translated article, or you watch a live event with perfect multi-language graphics, or you deploy an AI tool in your own workflow, pause for a second. Remember the incredible jagged terrain of invisible infrastructure working behind the scenes. It's an ecosystem constantly managed by human experts who are serving as the critical guardrails of our global communication. And that's your daily dose of localization know-how from locanuku.com, localization news you can use.